Hey there, it's Olivia Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to give you one big unhaul. So when I was doing my entire own TBR video, it meant I had to go through my entire TBR, and I saw that there were quite a few books that I just lost interest in and didn't want to read anymore. And as well as that, while I've been reading this year, on these past few months more so, because I did an unhaul earlier this year, when I found a book that I didn't like, I decided I'd put it in the unhaul pile, and now I'm here to show you which books those are. I've decided that I won't keep any books on my shelves that I rated under 2 stars, and then any ones that I just don't particularly think I need to hold on to are also in this unhaul. Let's get started with my most controversial books. And those are Me Before You and After You by Jojo Moyes. I haven't read After You, but I have read Me Before You. Now, when I first read Me Before You, I was blown away. This one is about a carer who takes the job to take care of a paraplegic, and more things happen. I can't really tell you more about it, but this is one of the most famous books with disabled representation in it, and it's not by a disabled author. Just want to put that out there. You can take from that what you will. But also, what I liked about this book when I originally read it, and rated it 5 stars, may I say, I really liked that it was from the perspective of a carer. She wasn't trying to put herself in the disabled perspective and kind of tell a story that would be very difficult for her to tell. No, she told it from the carer's perspective. Many of you know that I have a younger sister who is disabled and a wheelchair user, so I was relating to a lot of the things that the carer character was talking about. She talks about a lot of really valid and very big struggles for disabled people and also for wheelchair users in particular, which talks about, you know, pavements and the ground that you roll on, eating in public and how other people perceive them and things like that. And I found that very interesting and very good. However, this book also talks a lot about euthanasia, and that's a big theme at the end, and it is emotional. And by the time I finished the book, I thought, wow, that is a really good book, and I liked the carer looking after the disabled person perspective, but I also at the same time thought I will never ever recommend this book to my younger sister. And it took me a month, let's say, to figure out why I would never recommend this to my sister, and that's because it's got a lot to do with ableism and the kind of theme and narrative it's pushing that I don't really think an able-bodied person should be talking about personally. It made me uncomfortable to read it, and that's why I would never recommend it to my younger sister. But also I just think it's a story or a narrative that if it's going to be talked about, it should really be talked about by a disabled person and not an able-bodied person. And then I did my research and I saw how much the disabled community do not like this book and find it to be very problematic, and saying it's a story that should be told by a disabled person. And when it comes to the second half of this book and those themes, I definitely do agree. So now that I've looked back on this one and reflected on it, I don't think I can give it 5 stars anymore. I do think there is value in this book. It does tell a valuable story about being a carer and some of the struggles that wheelchair users and disabled people go through. However, maybe read an Own Voices book if you are going to be reading a disabled book about those things. Just put that first before trying to read other ones. As well as that, I just think it's problematic that the most famous book with a disabled character is not by a disabled author. Therein lies a problem, which doesn't only have to do with the story, but also to do with us as readers. And those are my reasons why I'm unhauling Me Before You and After You, but my younger sister is also planning to do a blog post where she talks about the film and these books, so you know, she is going to be reading them. Her blog is The Wheelchair Teen, and I'll have a link down to that down below if you'd like to hear her thoughts on this eventually whenever that blog post comes out, or if it has come out, I will link that itself. So she's getting these 2 books. Then I'm also unhauling Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This should really surprise nobody. I did read this one and I really didn't like it. It's about a matriarchy and it's got to do with dragons and jewels and this huge quest, but I found it to be very slow paced, very boring, far too info dumpy, and it just gave us so many backstories of characters that we didn't need. I just think it was a lot of things that I didn't want it to be, and everything I hoped it would be, it didn't really follow through on that. So unfortunately I am unhauling this one. Review from the future here, because I just want to add 2 more books that I'm quickly going to be unhauling as well. well. So the first one of those is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, and the second one is A Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. I've talked about both of these in my September wrap-up and the reasons why I didn't like them, but if I'm going to be quick and short and snippy about it, I thought the writing in The Hating Game by Sally Thorne was very insensitive, and I also think the enemies to lovers trope was done really badly just because they flicked between love and enemies so quickly that it was unbelievable to me, in fact even laughable at times. I found that there were some stereotypes that were really hammered home. For example, she kept talking about how she didn't want a nice guy, and all the nice guys that she dated were tall and skinny and lanky and weak, and she talked about how much she loved how strong Just was and how he was so like manly and masculine and such a bad boy, and it kind of drove that theme home far too much for me because I feel like this is a stereotype that we often see. And then we've got The Curious Incident of the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. I really hated how characters who were considered the equivalent to parental figures were presented. I felt like they weren't great and they were presented in a positive light, which shouldn't have happened. I also felt like the author situation where the author claims that this is not an autism representation book and he did no autism research before he wrote this book, and then everybody markets it as an autism book, his publishers, and also the fact that this is known as one of the most famous autism books in English language world. I feel like that's very problematic. We should have some more own voices authors who are this famous, especially someone who says they didn't even do any research. I just had a lot of problems with this book personally. I wasn't happy with the ending. Needless to say, these two books, they're gonna go. The next book I'm unhauling is The Murder of Rodger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely head over heels loved this book, gave it 5 stars. It's one of my favourite Agatha Christie's. However, this is a copy I got from a free little library. It's secondhand, it's worn, and I'm going to continue it on. I'm just going to continue to pass it on because I enjoyed it that much. I am planning on buying my own copy. I've been collecting them in the HarperCollins editions that they have with those really nice covers. So I will be getting my own copy of this, but as I got this one for free in a free little library, I am going to pass it on again. I tried to do that with free little library books that I really loved. I will also be doing the same thing with Beartown. I don't know where my copy is right now, but I absolutely am loving this one. I'm currently reading it, so you can see how much I pre-film my videos, but I'm currently reading it. I absolutely loved it, but I also got it in a free little library, and my younger sister wants to read it and I want my mum to read it. So I'm going to pass it on to them, and I'm going to buy my own copy, which will just be new and nice, which is great for me. But if I love a free little library copy, I like to pass it on because other people can enjoy it as well. Then I'm unhauling 5 of the books in the Chronicles of Narnia series, not all 7. So the ones I'm unhauling are The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, The Last Battle, The Horse and His Boy, and The Magician. I'm especially like, if you can double unhaul something, I'm doubly unhauling The Horse and His Boy and The Last Battle because they are very racist, and I want you to know that. Also, all of them have very heavily implied gender roles. Girls are for this, boys are for this, and that just runs all through the series. I have chosen to keep Prince Caspian and The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe because The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is the first one. It's also the least problematic, and I do have a lot of sentimental value attached to the film, and I kind of enjoyed reading that one. And then Prince Caspian I thought was also another one I have sentimental value to because of the films. It does have a little bit of racism in it, but I decided to keep those two. However, the rest of them, I didn't really enjoy them. I don't have that much close attachment to them, and they are problematic, so I don't need these in my life. Then I'm unhauling the Falling Fast series by Sophie McKenzie. This one is a series I read when I was a young teenager, and I did do this thing where I got a few series that I used to love as a young teen because I wanted to reread them and see if I still loved them. And while the Kathy Cassidy series did hold up, this one unfortunately did not. It had a lot of problematic representation, had some problematic LGBT plus representation. It had a lot of just the character, the way she talked about herself and her appearance really just upset me so much. I felt like the relationship was really problematic, and as teenagers they really learned nothing at all by the end of this series. It got repetitive, they made the same mistakes. I did not enjoy this, and just it's a bit sad when your heart breaks from something that you used to read, but I'm glad that these didn't ingrain in me too much and I didn't like take on the values in these books because they're not good ones. Okay, now we just have books that I owned and I've lost interest in. All of these are ones I bought a very long time ago, so I don't feel that bad about unhauling them at all. The first one is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. So this one is the fan fiction that's in Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and it's based on Harry Potter, unfortunately. First of all, I hated the Harry Potter series when I read it, for starters, and also when I was reading Fangirl, I thought Fangirl was okay, but I skipped over all the fanfiction parts because I wasn't enjoying them. Therefore, I'm not going to read a whole book that is essentially just the fanfiction, and I'm just going to pass this one on to somebody else. Then we have Dreadfully Ever After by Steve Hockensmith. So I won a giveaway by the publisher Quirk Books years ago, and they sent me a big box of all of their most popular titles at the time, and in it included Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which I have read and really didn't like. The film is so much different from the book, and the film Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is absolutely top-notch hilarious, but the book was absolutely awful, and I unhauled that one, but I kind of forgot that I owned the sequel, Dreadfully Ever After, and I am not going to read more books in a series where I didn't like the first one, so this is Go and Go. I have Sky Key by James Frey. So this is the sequel to Endgame by James Frey, and I did like Endgame, but I thought it was okay, and it's been several years since I read the first one, and also my favourite character didn't make it through the first book, so I don't think I'm going to continue with the series at any point, anytime, so it's gotta go. Then we have Berserk Reloaded by Michael Grant. So Michael Grant is the author of a series I really love called Gone. However, I do have favourite series over favourite authors because of reasons like this, where they write books that I just find are mediocre, and I can't really say that they're my favourite author anymore. So while I found Bzrk to be a pretty good book when I read it in my early teens, I don't think, like thinking in hindsight, that I'm going to enjoy the series anymore. And I don't think I'm ever going to read the sequel, so I'm just going to be unhauling it from my shelves. Then we've got Bag of Bones by Stephen King, and also Full Dark No Stars by Stephen King. So I'm reading it and I'm really not liking it, and I can't see myself picking up too many Stephen King books next. I'm sorry guys, I just don't think Stephen King's going to be for me. And I also read the synopses of these two, and in particular, like, Stephen King has a lot of books, but if I was going to read more Stephen King, it wouldn't be these two. It would be something else, probably like Carrie or something, but it wouldn't be these two. So I'm going to unhaul them, and it's safe to say I don't have any interest in these two. We've got On the Road by Jack Kerouac. I think reading The Catcher in the Rye earlier this year and not enjoying it made me realise that I need to be a bit more specific and particular with which classics I'm going to be trying, and I found that this is not one that fits the bill of the type of classics that I'm interested in, and I've been curious about it because there are so many books that kind of reference it, but I think my curiosity is not, I don't think I'm going to like it, so I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go. Then we have Delirium by Lauren Oliver. This one is about a book set in a world where love is forbidden, and what does that mean, and what is that like, and I saw a meme. So I just, after seeing that meme for starters, and then also like as time went by and it's kind of like an early YA book, my interest waned, and I don't think I'm going to be reading this one. And we have Ninth Judgement by James Patterson. Pretty sure I got this for like €1 in my childhood at some point, and I realised I have no interest in any of James Patterson's books. I know he's written so many, but they're just not really ones for me, and I don't think I'm going to read anything by him ever, unless my mind changes, so that's gonna go. The Huckleberry Finn and the Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, and I know Mark Twain is a very known classic author, but I actually have no interest in his books, so this is gonna go. How to Think About Exercise by Damon Young. I think I got this for free at some point. I know what I think about exercise, and I don't need to read about this. And then we just got a lot of books that I think I got either for free or they're like indie authors. Don't worry, I didn't just clear my shelves of all of my indie authors. I've got the books that I read and really enjoyed by indie authors still on my shelves, and I've got some books on my TBR by indie authors that I'm very interested in, but I had a lot of books that I just lost interest in over time, so I'm just going to quickly go through these and read the titles. We've got Florence by Sia Cho. This might be about mermaids, but I read the synopsis, so I don't think it's one that I'm particularly interested in. We've got Forget You by Jennifer Eccles. I'm a bit more particular with my contemporary contemporary romance, and this one doesn't quite fit the bill. We've got Hannah's Choice by Hannah and Kirsty Jones, and this one is a true story about a child who has a very terminal illness, and it actually sounds like one my mum is really gonna enjoy even more than me. I think I would have kept this on my TBR if I hadn't read it and thought this is one that's perfect for my mum, so I'm going to be giving it to her instead, and maybe after she's read it I'll still read it. Developed Minds by Jonathan Lapoma. I have heard good things about this, and it's a ghost story and it's dark academia, but I don't think I'm going to read it at any point. We've got Unraveled Visions by Nina Milton. Again, just one I don't think I'm going to read. Where You'll Find Me by Erin Fletcher, another contemporary that just doesn't sound up my alley anymore. Reapers by Brian Davis. Well, it's about reapers and death, which I think is I'm interested in. Again, just not really up my alley anymore. Broken Skies by Teresa Kay. This one is about aliens, and it sounds a bit like Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout or something like that, and I did not like that book. So seeing that this one sounds similar, giving it away. Becoming Lily by Julia Blake. This was sent to me gifted, and it was actually sent to me by an author who previously sent me their book for review, and while they sent me their book for review and I was fine with that, they sent me this kind of unsolicited as a gift, and I don't actually have any interest in reading it, so I'm just gonna... The Land of the Afternoon Sun by Barbara Wood and Red Death by Jeff Alterbeth. I did read a thriller by Jeff Alterbeth and really liked it. I've kept that one, but this one I don't think I'm ever going to get around to because it sounds quite different from the first novel I read by him. And then The Land of the Afternoon Sun by Barbara Wood just doesn't really seem like my kind of thing anymore. The Greatest Story Ever Told So Far is non-fiction, kind of about the world and everything, and it's just about a subject within the world that I'm not that interested in. Then we have An Allegiance of Honor by Nalini Singh. I believe I won this in a giveaway, but I entered the giveaway thinking this was the first book in a series, when actually I think it's the 15th book in a series, and I don't own the rest of the series. It is a series that I am interested in trying, but I think I'm going to get rid of the 15th book and I'll read the first one and then see if I'm going to be continuing on in the series. And with series this long, I prefer to go through the library than to buy every single book anyway. And then last but not least, we have Revolution by Peter Hein Walker, and this is just another one that doesn't really sound like it's my kind of thing anymore. So there you have it. Those are all of the books that I am unhauling. It's good to just have a bit more room in my TBR wardrobe and on my shelves again that I can fill up with loads of new books. So please let me know in the comment section down below, have you unhauled anything recently, or if you are going to do an unhaul soon or in the future, what's the first book that you would be unhauling? Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior. And those are... oh, there go. Oh no. Oh. There go all the books. It had some problematic LGBT plus This is the second book to Sky Key? No, Sky Key. What's the first one called? Oh, it says an endgame novel on the cover.